Hello, welcome to the next little instalment from the Golf School. I'm Peter Harrington from the Golf School. I'd like to talk a little bit about pitching and chipping, okay, the short game as we describe it, in books and what, as golf pros, we pride ourselves on a lot of the time to get the major part of the scoring done, to scramble well on the days that you don't hit it so well and whatsoever. There's a couple of tricks to actually trying to get the short game to work in your favour a lot more. In other words, chipping and pitching, lofted when you're trying to land on the green, is not just a little version of the golf swing. There's a lot of changes that have to be done with your grip, with your ball position, with your weight position, and even the motion itself. Because we don't need power, obviously, when we're hitting these short shots, it might be 2 yards to about 60 yards is what I'm describing in this pitching motion. What we do is we take out a lot of the exaggerated moving parts that create a lot of the power in the golf swing. So the first one we do is that when we're pitching and chipping with a lofted club trying to land on the green, we will potentially use a sand wedge or a pitching wedge or a gap wedge to get the loft, but we'll also take what we call a weak left-hand position. In other words, my top hand as a right-hander is further around to the left side of the grip. It's what we call technically weak. My right hand will be neutral, in other words, remaining the V straight up, but as I say, my left hand will be weak further to the left. What this does is it makes the club face remain open, okay? And when the club face stays open, because of the weak left hand keeping it open, you're going to get more loft and the face will slide under the ball and you'll get a lot more spin. But also, when the face stays open, obviously, the ball's going to go to the right, okay? So what I have to do, I have to offset that alignment with the face by aiming a little bit left with my body to the target I'm trying to go at, because the face is going to stay open to the right. So as I set up here, you'll see I get my left hand weak, I'm aiming straight on here to the target, I open my body a little bit to the left to allow the face to stay open, and then I'm trying to line the ball up at 90 degrees or perpendicular to the inside of my heel to the target line. And I'm trying to line my club face up to the target as well. Body left, 90 degrees to heel to target line. Weak left hand, and then I'm working on trying to keep my weight stable on my left side. The club will always want to bottom out where your centre of gravity is, okay? So if I keep my weight on my left side, the club will bottom out somewhere around in line with my left foot, and that just happens to be where the ball is as well. The reason why we keep the ball forward and we keep our weight stable on our left side also is that in these shots often you're taking a shorter swing, and if you get a weight shift going, the duration of swing of that shorter swing won't allow you the time to actually get back to your left side. So therefore you'll tend to actually go back and you'll actually bottom out somewhere back on your right foot because you wouldn't have had the time to actually get back to your left side by the time the club got back to the ball. So as I say, we stay on our left, weak left hand, in line with our left heel, 90 degrees to target, open with our alignment of shoulders and feet, and then we keep our weight on our left side. Now the key here is that the path the club is going to go with my feet line left. You're not pushing the club face through the target, you're pulling it across the line, okay? So it's going to go on the line of my feet this way. But the face will continue to point to the right, so therefore giving a little sort of a slight spin, as you can imagine, like cutting under in tennis. When you play that drop shot, running up to the net and chopping underneath, the ball will spin backwards that way, often get a lot more spin and spin back to the right, okay? So here's the shot itself, everything's set up right. Now during the swing itself, it's very important to feel that once again the club is travelling across with the feet line. If you want to hit the ball a little bit higher, you'll hinge your wrists a bit more, right? If you want to hit the ball a little bit lower, you'll take more of a shoulder turn. But each time, still keeping that weight on the left side, on top of that left knee. And the downswing is basically described as a rotational move again, okay? Very important in golf that this club head stays trailing the shaft. In other words, there it is, back behind the shaft, the hands. If it stays behind, it'll keep going down under the ball. And the way to keep it trailing is to make the left hip the actual catalyst at the start of the downswing. Because if you don't turn your left hip through, something's got to bring the club back, and it'll be your wrists. And at that point, that club's going to get forward of the shaft in what we call a chili dip, and therefore it's going away from the ground and you're never going to make that good contact underneath the ball. So there we are, set up, grip, ball position, weak left hand, open, weight forward. I'm going to break my wrists a little bit here because I'm going to try and hit a higher one. But you'll notice also when I hit the shot, my left hip will turn through first, keeping that club face trailing the shaft. So at the end of my swing there, I'm once again having my belt buckle pointing at the target. And it doesn't matter whether it's a short version or a 2 metre chip, you want to have that same finish. In other words, the body turning through first, so that the belt buckle's pointing to the target and the club head is trailing the shaft. Here's a little version of the same thing. Now I've only hit that about 5 yards. Same motion, just a different length of swing to get a different length of outcome. The great thing about this shot too is that club face with the weak left hand position is going to keep the club face constant to the target line. This is an extremely accurate shot and it'll actually up your spin rate because the face staying open is going to create more slide under the ball more and give it more spin as well. So if you've got a tight pin position, you've got to stop it on a down slope. You know, if the greens are firm, it's a great shot. You're basically only going to be able to hit this shot though 75% of the distance that you would hit that club with normally. I've got my sandwich here. I hit this about 90 metres. I'd really only ever try and pitch with it around about 65 metres maximum. Okay? That's 75% rule because when the face is not shutting because of the weak left hand, you lose distance. You get a lot more height but not much grunt going forward. And also when the weight stays forward, you're going to lose power because the weight shift moving back and forwards will give you more power. So taking those two moving parts out is going to rob me of distance but give me more height, more spin and more accuracy. And the contact is going to become a lot crisper because there's less moving parts to try and get the ball going. Okay? So that's a little bit about lofted chipping or pitching. So chipping is the short version of that and pitching is basically the long version going up to 75% of the distance that club would normally go. Okay, thank you.